how we're doing scheduling-wise. We feel we're right on schedule, or maybe a little ahead of schedule, so we're moving quite nicely, and as you can tell, calling a lot of witnesses. All right, Ms. Bright, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll call Officer Brad Clinkscales.
Morning, Your Honor. Is this okay?
Please state your full name and spell your first and last name for the record.
My full name is Brad David Clinkscales, B-R-A-D, and then D-A-V-I-D, and C-L-I-N-K-S-C-A-L-E-S.
Thank you. Good morning, Officer Clinkscales.
Good morning.
Officer Clinkscales, where do you work?
I work for the State of California Department of California Highway Patrol, and I'm assigned to the San Diego field office.
How long have you worked for the CHP?
18 years.
What is your current assignment with San Diego CHP?
I'm currently assigned to the San Diego CHP Office Special Investigations Unit.
How long have you been in the Special Investigations Unit?
8 years.
What are your responsibilities with the Special Investigations Unit?
I assist the field officers in investigative follow-up on felony cases. I file all the felony cases that go through the San Diego CHP office with the District Attorney's Office. I assist as a drug recognition expert when people bring people in from the field. I'm the terrorism liaison officer. I'm the asset forfeiture officer. I give training. It's essentially it.
What position did you have before you became an officer within the Special Investigations Unit?
Prior to that, I was on patrol for a little less than 10 years and a short assignment as a vehicle theft investigator as well.
Have you always been assigned to the San Diego area?
No.
Where have you been assigned besides San Diego?
I began my career in Sacramento at the Academy, and then I was assigned to the Miranda CHP office north of the Golden Gate Bridge for about a year. Then I moved over to El Cajon, California Highway Patrol office for 3 to 4 years, and then landed in San Diego.
It's part of your responsibilities with the Special Investigations Unit to respond to the scene of certain crashes.
Yeah, it is.
And when you are asked to respond, are you on call 24 hours a day? Is that fair to say?
Essentially.
I'd like to direct your attention to the early morning hours of May the 16th, 2015. Did you receive a call out regarding a crash?
I did.
When you received that call, where were you?
Home, in bed.
What time did you receive that call?
It was near 2 a.m.
When you received that call, what did you do?
I got dressed, went into, actually I got dressed and I made a bunch of phone calls with my partner, James McBrady, sergeants and officers that were at the scene, and then I grabbed my gear and went to the collision scene, is where I started.
What time did you get to the collision scene?
I estimate 2:30.
When you got to the collision scene, what was your responsibility?
My responsibility was going to be as a primary investigator for the case, so I was going to be dealing with the suspect and everything that the suspect did before and after the crash, essentially.
When you got to the location, how many emergency personnel were still on scene?
There was more than a dozen there.
And were the people that were there solely firefighters or solely police officer, or was it a combination?
There was several highway patrol officers, 2 highway patrol supervisors. My partner arrived around the same time as me, James McBrady. There was lot of, not necessarily fire department personnel, but like tow trucks, and I think there was a lot of allied agencies, San Diego PD, that were on the south end of the scene that were helping to secure the scene to keep other people from driving into it.
When you got to the scene, did you have an opportunity to walk through the scene?
I did.
When you were walking through the scene, were there still 2 deceased bodies that were there at the scene when you got there?
Yes.
When you're going through the scene, what are you looking for?
Well, my understanding upon my arrival was that this collision had involved a vehicle that was driving wrong way. So my first thing that I did was I took a look at the roadway and the vehicles. I was informed that they believed that an F-350, white in color, was the one that was wrong way. And so I took a look around the scene to make sure that that made sense to me, that it didn't look like that was the vehicle that was traveling wrong way.
As you were walking through the scene, is part of your responsibility documenting evidence, or did you assign that to a different officer?
Related to the evidence collection and documentation, I assigned that to my partner, James McBrady. I couldn't stay at the scene for a very long period of time because I knew that there was an injured suspect that was at a hospital that needed to be interviewed.
When you have a case like this, how do you divide up the duties?
We will typically assign people to handle the roadway diagram, and then we'll have somebody else taking photos and video, and we'll assign people to contact any witnesses that may be around at the collision scene. There's going to be an officer who's going to handle an arrest report, and then typically that same officer will be handling a collision report. So we'll make sure that all those duties are assigned and covered.
And is that something that you were responsible for?
No.
What was your role then within all of the duties that are required for the crash investigation?
My role is essentially to figure out what had led up to the crash related to the suspect side of the issue, to interview the suspect and victims and witnesses that had been with the suspect prior to the crash, to find out how it was that this crash came to be and how what his level of sobriety may have been.
How long did you initially stay at the scene of the crash?
Not very long. I think I was only there for about 20, 25 minutes.
Where did you go once you left the scene?
I went to the hospital, UCSD hospital.
When you were at the scene, though, did you have an opportunity to take a look at kind of where the debris was, where the car was, things like that?
I did.
And if I showed you some photographs, do you think you would recognize them?
I would.
Officer Clinkscales, I'm showing you a photograph marked as exhibit number 7. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that as?
This is the scene of the collision that we were just speaking about. This is northbound 163, north of the 8, and this is a view from a person standing in the number 2 lane facing southbound at the northern edge of the collision scene.
Commissioner Publisher.
Yes.
So in exhibit number 7, we're looking, it would be fair to say we're looking southbound in the photograph, looking kind of from the first vehicle we see, which is the Prius, and then in the distance we also see the Ford truck. Is that fair?
Yes.
What are we looking at towards exhibit number 8?
Of course, exhibit number 8 is the same viewpoint of the same location, just further south, standing to the west side of the Prius, taken from in between the number 1 and number 2.
Commissioner Publisher?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. And was this part of the area that you walked around when you were getting an assessment of the scene?
Yes.
Flip to exhibit number 11, please.
Same location. This picture is of the passenger side of the Prius C, and it's taken from the east edge of the gore point between North 163 and what I believe is probably the beginning of the 8 East or Friars Off.
Commissioner Clemenceau.
Yes.
This photograph, is it fair to say that it's either taken on a shoulder or on a roadway portion that's kind of separate from the actual State Route 163?
Yes, it's taken in an area that we refer to as a gore point, that triangular area that's not for travel.
What are we looking at in court exhibit number 12?
This is another image of the Prius C. This is taken from the other side of the freeway. It looks like this is taken probably from the number 1 lane facing east-northeast, and it depicts the driver's side of the Prius.
Commissioner Clemenceau.
You may.
At some point in time, did you actually have an opportunity to observe the vehicles when they were off the roadway and in the impound yard?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that you only stayed on scene for about 20 minutes. Where did you go?
I went to UCSD Hospital.
When you went to the SDS hospital, who did you contact?
I contacted Jason King.
Where was he when you contacted him?
He was in the intensive care trauma unit on the 2nd floor, and the first bed as you walk into the trauma unit. He was laying on a hospital gurney.
When you contacted him, did you identify yourself?
I did.
Did he appear at that point in time that he was getting medical treatment?
Yes, he was getting periodic medical treatment throughout my contact with him.
When you first contacted him, what time was that?
I'd have to take a look at the report for the exact time.
If you could take a look at your report and then look up to me when your memory's been refreshed.
Yes,
Do you have a copy with you?
I do. Okay,
Officer, has your memory been refreshed?
it has.
What time did you first contact Lieutenant Mr. King?
I was at approximately 3:30 in the morning, 03:30 hours.
And when you first contacted him, were there any other police officers there?
I believe there was Officer Cavateo was in the room as well.
When you contacted him, was the lieutenant alert at that time?
Yes, he was conscious and speaking.
And you mentioned that you identified yourself, is that right?
That is right.
At some point in time, when you were speaking with him, did he have difficulty either responding to you when you first contacted him, or was he getting medical treatment?
He was getting medical treatment while I was talking to him.
And did that happen throughout the course of your discussion and your interview?
Yes.
When you were speaking with him, did you use any sort of a recording device?
I did.
What kind of device did you use to record your conversation?
I had a digital audio recorder.
And with your digital audio recorder, did you basically capture all of the parts of the conversation that you had with Lieutenant Mr. King?
Yes.
And how many times total did you end up interviewing Lieutenant Mr. King?
I remember 2. There was the one that was right after it happened at UCSD Hospital, and there was another one that was approximately a day and a half later that was at UCSD Hospital once he had been transferred to an actual room.
The second interview that you did you also use an audio recorder?
I know I used a video recorder. I may have also had an audio recorder going. But I distinctly recall setting up a high-definition camera at his bedside.
Now, the first interview that you did with Mr. King, the defendant, were there times when you had to stop and start during the interview?
Yes.
Why?
He would receive medical treatment, so if a nurse was coming to do something with him, then I would just stop the recording. I would go talk to Officer Cavateo or step back, and then when they were done working with him, I would go back in and start recording again.
Why did you do that?
Well, part of it was to save battery. The recorder that I used to have back then didn't work very well, so the batteries would die on me sometimes. I wanted to make sure I saved that. And then also that it was stuff that where he was getting medical treatment and talking to his doctors.
Were there times during your interview, the first interview with the defendant, that he fell asleep?
I believe towards the very end of the interview, he started kind of falling asleep.
What did you do when that happened?
I stopped the interview when I couldn't talk to him anymore.
At this time, I would like to play the interview.
Mr. Hutton, any objection?
No.
It's been marked as.
Exhibit number 92, Your Honor.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be testing out transcripts to this interview. I want to instruct you that the evidence is actually the tape itself. It's up to the jury to decide what is being said on the tape. This transcript is an aid for you to assist you, but you, as the triers of fact, will be deciding what is actually being said. And the transcript is marked as?
92A, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Could I ask a question?
Sure. We're talking to juror 10.
If this officer interviewed Mr. King twice, is this both of those audio tape transcripts, or is it just the second?
Thank you.
Officer Clinkscales, the first interview you did of the defendant, was that just an audio tape?
Yes.
And was there, the second interview was audio and video, is that right?
Right.
This interview is dated on the 16th of May.
Okay, so this is just that first interview then, sir, at UCSD Hospital.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
May I ask one more question?
Sure, we're now speaking to alternate 3.
Are these ours? Can we make notes on them?
Any objection, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
All right, go right ahead. And those of you who will be deliberating can obviously refer to this if need be in the jury deliberation.
Your Honor, is it the court's practice that the court reporter records all of the transcripts as well?
I would assume, counsel, we don't need her to report this.
I would waive recording.
People would as well, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Officer Clinkscales, I'll play you for just the very first portion to see if you can identify your voice.
Okay.
Raise your hand if you do not have a transcript. Okay, looks like we're set.
Okay.
Officer Clinkscales, do you recognize that voice?
I do. That is me.
I'm Brad Clinkscales. I'm an investigator with CHP, Highway Patrol. Do you know where you are right now? Do you know where you are right now? Where at? I don't know. It's 3:49 in the morning on Saturday, May 16th. You know what day it is? Don't worry about it. I'll text my 3D. Oka's busy trying to be the scene.
Carol, get it.
In his where? Oh, okay. Yeah, he did take a heck of a hit, but it was under him mostly. It ripped off his left front tire. He's in a big lifted F-350, so a lot of the force for him went right underneath him.
I'm going to step in. Yeah, I'm going to talk. So I'm afraid to get
Okay, cool.
right out where it comes from, what it is.
I'd love to know where this dude is coming from. Yeah, it is. I'm going to have to catch him. Yeah. I'll catch him when he sobers up a little bit. I just would prefer not to. It's like you give this to my partner. I don't want him to know. He's going to have to come back later in the morning and get a real statement out of him. Yeah, if he knows, he's done. Our last one, we managed to get him from Nova for like 3 days. It was awesome. Wasn't until his arraignment. Yeah.
Jason, what's wrong?
Don't move around too much. You don't want to move around. Jason, where are you hurting at? What hurts?
Oh.
Don't move around.
Alright.
What hurts? Take a picture of everything in it.
Not everything about Brent took pictures of his military and
Okay. I'll just go through all the contents. Mr. King? Do you know where you were coming from before you had your crash? Mr. King? Where were you earlier in the night? Do you know where you were at?
You know what's the month? No, what month is it? What year is it? Good. You know what happened tonight? You're in the hospital. Do you know why you're in the hospital? You got in a car accident. You remember that? Okay.
Why?
You don't remember what happened tonight? I don't know. So I was asking you. You're in the hospital.
Mr. King, I'm Investigator Clinkscales with the Highway Patrol. That's why I'm filming you. I'm with the Highway Patrol. Okay, do you know where you were earlier tonight? No. Was there anybody else that was in your truck that we need to be looking for out there? Are you sure? Okay. You don't know where you started driving tonight? Do you know where you were going? You were headed home? Okay. Well, if you know where you were going home, is it possible that maybe you could remember where you started driving? If you don't even remember where you started driving, it's going to make you look like you're really drunk. Do you remember where you started driving?
A bar in town.
Okay, that's a good start. Do you remember which bar you were at? Okay, what part of town was it in? Near the beach? Okay, OB or PB? Ocean Beach? Okay. Have you told him he sent 15? Okay. Okay, have we done Miranda yet? Okay. Okay, I thought that you had. Okay. a police officer. Or you understand that? Okay. And do you understand that that Officer Cavataio arrested you for DUI? Okay. I'm going to make sure that you know what your rights are. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk with an attorney and to have an attorney present before and during questioning. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed free of charge to represent you before and during questioning if you desire. You understand the rights I explained to you? Okay, I want to talk to you about this and let you know a little bit more about what's going on here, but before I do that, do you want to talk to me?
Sir.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where you were coming from. It's really important. Mission Beach?
Sir.
Okay. Were you with anybody, or did you go by yourself?
By myself, sir.
Did you go there by yourself?
No, sir.
Okay, who'd you go with?
Some friends of mine, sir.
Okay, out of the friends that you went with, who's your best friend out of that group?
Alan Slang.
Alan Slang?
Sir.
Do you know his phone number?
No, sir.
Is it in your phone? What kind of a phone do you have? Is it password protected?
No, sir.
You don't know if you have to put a code in to get into it? If we have my officers back at the scene look for that phone to get Alan's number so you can call him, is there a code they need to put into it? No code? You don't Is it a slider? Like a slide code? You don't remember? Okay. All right. Where does Alan live at? We might need to get a hold of him. 32nd Street?
Well, Miramar.
He lives on Miramar?
Yes.
And where do you live at?
Also, no one thing, sir.
You live on base?
Sir.
Is that Miramar?
Sir.
Do you remember anything about the name of the places you were at before you got in your truck? You don't? Are you trying to tell me that you're so intoxicated you don't even know where you were coming from? Or do you know? You remember what it looked like? What it was maybe close to? Sir, I'm going to need you to pay attention. This is important. Oh, okay. Can you tell me how you got there? What road you took? What was that?
Remember where, like, off the top of my head, what road that took to meet there.
Okay. Do you know the phone number for anybody that you were with tonight that I could call that maybe could figure that out?
Let me just sign the top. One more.
Is your girlfriend there or anything like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Alan, that's all you know, is he's Alan Slang, you don't know his phone number? Okay. So, did you take a freeway to get to this part? Okay. Do you remember which freeway you took to get to the bar? Well, there's Interstate 8 that goes to the beach, and there's 5 that also goes to the beach. How about this? Did you pay in a parking? Did you park in a parking parking lot where you had to pay somebody to put your truck? No? Okay, did you park on the street? Okay. Did you get to park near where the bar was at or far away? Okay. You parked on the street? Did you have to put money in the meter? Do you know what time you got to the bar? Was it at midnight? Or earlier? Do you remember what you were drinking? Were those the ones in the metal can?
No, sir.
Were they in a pint glass?
Wow.
A glass bottle? Okay. And when you say a couple, do you know how many? All right, sir. Do you feel the effects of the alcohol? All right. In what way? Okay. Is the room spinning? Okay, so you're not so bad that the room is spinning when you close your eyes? Okay. Did you have any mixed drinks? And do you know if you were in Ocean Beach, Mission Beach, or Pacific Beach? In between Mission and Pacific. Is it on that main, was the bar on that main strip where all the bars are at? On Mission Boulevard there? Was it close to the roller coaster? You don't remember seeing the roller coaster? Okay. Did you have any mixed drinks? No? Any shots? You using any drugs tonight? All right. You taking medicine?
No, sir.
You're not taking anything for pain before the crash? Okay, so did you have anything wrong with you before you had this crash? No? Okay. Do you have diabetes? But you don't have it? Okay. How about epilepsy? Okay. Do you have seizures? Do you have a tendency to pass out while you're driving? Walking? Okay. You ever been in an accident before?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
Long time ago.
How long ago?
I really remember it, but a long time ago.
Have you ever been in an accident where you were driving the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Not even like a little bump?
No, sir.
Do you know what kind of a truck that you were driving when you had your crash tonight?
Night.
This morning? Early morning?
350.
And how long have you had that truck?
Not too long. Couple days.
A couple days?
Sir.
Where'd you buy that thing?
But from someone I know I'm grateful with.
Is there anything wrong with the truck?
No, sir. Nothing on that.
How about the brakes on it? Are they good?
Sure. Brakes are good.
Okay. Does it steer okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Does the gas work on it all right?
Yes, sir.
Were you wearing your seatbelt?
Yes, sir.
Did the owner of the truck with
when you bought it from them say anything about the truck you need to be careful of? Like, hey, watch out, it has trouble with this, or it has trouble with that, or it starts up okay?
Sir.
Do you know if you had a full tank of gas in it when you crashed?
A little bit under full. But always make sure it's full.
How much money does it cost to fill that thing up?
The lift pump's going out on it, so I can't go under. So, what it was about $30.
Okay. Did you put gas in it before you went out?
Sir.
So where was that at?
Taste.
You know what time you left to go out? Can you give me a rough idea? Like, was it noon yesterday? Okay.
Yes, like late yesterday.
After dinner or before? Yeah, after dinner. Okay, so you put gas in it. You went out after dinner. Who did you meet when you went out?
Check that wreck with.
The what?
Check that something accident.
What about that truck? Maybe you misunderstood what I said. Who did you meet when you went out to the bar? You said that you met up with one of your friends down there, with a group of friends.
Well, that was when we were hanging out down there.
Okay.
But we were parked. We weren't driving out.
Right. But when you went out and you met up with your friends when you were hanging out, who were you hanging out with?
Slang?
Who is Slang? All right. Does he have a real name?
Alan?
Alan Slang?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You gave me that name before. Who else were you with?
Dylan Wolfrey?
Dylan Wolfrey?
Sir.
Okay. And who else was there?
Austin Perry?
Austin Perry?
Sir.
Okay. Who else, sir?
Connor Carrizales?
Connor Carrizales?
Sir.
Okay. Anybody else?
Right now, sir.
Any girls?
Sir.
All right. Who was buying the drinks?
Big turn, sir.
Who bought the last round?
I think I might have.
Okay. How were you paying for your drinks?
Card?
Do you know which card?
Like I got, sir.
You got a couple cards in there.
The Navy Fed, sir.
Your Navy Fed card. Okay. When you got into the bar, was there a bouncer at the door checking IDs?
Maybe, sir.
Was there any problems when you were in the bar?
Yes, sir.
No fights?
I think so, sir.
Nobody got thrown out?
Maybe my drunk ass did, sir.
Okay. Now, why did you get thrown out?
I don't know if I did, sir.
Oh, okay. So you're just theorizing. No, I just want to know. I don't want any guesses from you. Okay? I want to be as accurate as I can. So, I mean, I don't want you telling me you got thrown out of a bar when you didn't. So, do you know if they made you leave?
Oh, really no, sir.
Do you remember if the bartender stopped giving you drinks?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay. Do you know how many beers you had? The whole night, start to finish.
The whole night.
Yep.
Probably had, I think, just start my stuff off with 4 AMFs
Okay. What is that?
and Adios motherfucker. Not sure what's in it, sir.
Oh, those are like a shot or a mixture?
Kind of like a drink, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So
wrong.
4 AMFs. How tall? Were they like in a shot glass or were they in a real glass?
Yes, sir. It is real glass.
Okay. So you started off with 4 adios motherfuckers. And then after that, what'd you have? You want us
to stop talking? I'd like to get this information out of you now, real nice and quick, and get on out of here so I can quit bugging you. Alrighty. So 4 AMFs, and then what else, sir?
Probably have 2 more.
Okay. So 4 AMFs, and then 2 more.
We all just gonna start dancing on our own terms.
You were dancing?
Started drinking on our own terms. And some at our own pace. So I'll probably have 3 more after that.
3 more AMFs with beer?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Now you said something about having some Bud Light Platinums or something like that?
Sure.
Now, how many of those?
Probably 2.
Okay. You feel pretty drunk right now?
Sure, sir.
Alright. Hey, when you got in your truck to drive, do you think that you should have been driving?
Do not, sir.
Okay, why not?
I was intoxicated, sir.
Okay. Did anybody tell you you shouldn't drive?
A few people, sir.
Okay, who told you that?
My friends,
The ones that you were with?
sir.
Why don't you give me some names, sir? Who told you not to drive?
I don't know the names, but they told me not to drive, sir.
Okay, then why didn't you listen to them?
I'm ignorant, that's why, sir.
Did you have a cell phone on you that you could have used to call a taxi?
Yes, sir.
That's a yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have money in the bank that you could have paid for a taxi with?
Yes, sir.
You ever used Uber before?
No, sir.
Alright. Anybody offer to call you a cab?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay. So from where you were drinking, do you know what way you were supposed to take to get home?
Let's take left. You get on the highway and take another left.
Okay. Do you remember the crash happening?
No, sir.
Do you think you got knocked out?
Probably, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about this bar. Why is it? Now, you know that you mentioned that they told you shouldn't be driving because of you being drunk, but what were you doing that made them think that you were so drunk? Or that you were drunk?
No, sir.
Were you stumbling?
Probably, sir.
Well, you would know. Do you remember falling down?
Nah.
You remember walking into anybody?
No, sir.
Bumping into anyone?
I probably was, sir.
Inside the bar or outside?
Probably both.
Okay. You ever been in trouble before?
With what, sir?
The law?
No, sir.
No alcohol problems?
No, sir.
Or does they ever ask you to go to alcohol counseling on base, anything like that?
No, sir.
Any domestic violence issues or anything like that?
No, sir.
How about drinking and driving in the past for a day?
No, sir.
Nothing?
No, sir.
Okay. It's very important that you try to remember for me what bar you were drinking at. It's very important. Do you remember what the bar looked like?
No, sir.
You have no idea?
No, sir.
Can you do me a favor and count backwards from 10?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sir.
Okay. Do you have your parents' contact information?
I do, sir.
Who are your parents?
Lisa Thompson is my mom, and David Thompson is my dad.
You have phone numbers for them?
Probably go there. Cell phones or on my phone.
Okay. How are we going to get into your phone so that we can call your parents? Does it have like one of those passwords where you drag your finger along in a shape?
Yeah, I'll give you the code, sir.
What's the code?
It's just,
Do you need it in the computer? Yeah. Okay, we'll put it in.
pull it up and I'll show you.
Okay.
My phone is, when you drag it, you start from 3,
Okay.
go
Over to 1.
1, down to 4, and over to 6.
3, across to 1, down to 4, and over to 6.
Yes, sir.
All right, if we find your phone, we'll try and get a hold of somebody. Again, I can't tell you enough how important it is to know what bar you're at. What did it, was it a big bar, like a nightclub?
It's kind of big.
All right. Was it a bar in PB, or when your friends are going out, did they say, hey, let's go out to PB here?
Big house.
Craig House?
Big house. Rich house.
Now, do you know if it would have been at Mission Beach or PB?
I think it was close to Mission. Pretty close to close. C-A-R-R, A-I-G. Hurts.
What hurt you? Just your stomach? Okay. Oh, that collar around your neck? All right. We got down to Mission Beach. Are you ready? There's the sandbar. Is that it? What?
No, sir.
Okay. Cannonball.
No, sir.
Beachcomber.
No, sir.
The Pennant.
No, sir.
Crushed.
No, sir.
The Wave House.
No, sir.
What did this bar look like on the outside? Did it look like a rustic bar, like in Cahoots?
I don't think I've ever been down to Cahoots.
Okay. Did it look like a country western bar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. CJ's? No, that's way from there.
And just keep still, okay?
Sorry.
Typhoon Saloon?
Oh, thanks, sir.
Crushed?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
Okay, what was the name of this thing?
Really?
There's Cass Street Bar?
Just remember. Like cactuses.
Cactuses. Okay.
I remember my friend got thrown into one. That was a story that was told.
By who?
Perry.
Were you at the Cabo Cantina? Cabo?
Maybe not. I don't know. Some of the part of the place. Still been chilling. Was at the
Anything at all. There's cactuses out in front. It's a little rustic looking. It's a fairly big bar. Did I understand you correct when you said that?
it's pretty big from what I'm used to, sir.
All right. What did it look like on the outside? Do you know what color? Bluish. All right. With cactuses out front? Like in planter boxes or like buried in the ground? Cactuses in the ground out in front of this place. All right.
Alright, sir.
I don't think they want you to move around.
To be still, they're gonna have to take some x-rays of your back. You have some broken bones in your spine, so you have to put your back on that hardwood.
Okay.
All right, so back to the bar. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really need to try and figure out. Do you know, try and think of the name of this place if you can. You remember somebody sending you a text message that you read that said, hey, this is the name of the bar we're going to? Okay, I want you to think about what that text message said.
Cahoots Bar and Grill is on there. Think of
In Cahoots?
Cahoots.
Now, I mentioned In Cahoots earlier, and you said you've never been there before, so I think I'd put that one in your head, maybe. Is that where you were at? In Cahoots has cactuses. Was there a restaurant in the same parking lot? Okay. You parked on the street and not a parking lot, right?
There.
Okay, that doesn't sound like ignorance to me.
Well, we park.
Okay. I can wait. You parked where?
Down the street, sir.
All right. But you said you parked on the street, down the street, is that correct?
There.
All right. Do you remember there being a parking meter where you parked at?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's think about the name of this bar that you were at. Do you think if I keep reading up names of bars down there that you'll finally remember one?
Maybe, sir.
Did you only go to one bar?
Yes, sir. I don't know, sir.
What?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, you only remember going to one bar?
Uh,
What do you think it's called? Yeah, he doesn't know.
It didn't Claremont. Because you can't put in issue report for those officers.
Well, he was trying to go home. So that's... Okay, we got Cannonball, the Beachcomber, Crushed, Shore Club, Wave House, Winston's, Pacific Shores, Gallagher's,
hang on, sir. Oh, that hurts.
Catalina, Kaiserhoff, Tavern, Barefoot Bar, Open Bar, was there like a patio area out in front of this bar where you could drink? Okay. How was it closed off? Was it like a railing or a fence? A fence? A tall fence or a short fence? Okay. Starting to sound like an open bar. Is this the place? the big one that's got the...
Journal fracture and she went to 12 weeks.
What part of the bar were you hanging out in when you guys went in there? Was it right by the door or somewhere else? The front door? Were you on the top floor or the bottom floor? So you were on the second floor, above the ground? Okay. And describe the area that you guys were at. Were you sitting at a table? Okay. Were there chairs? Was there a dance floor? Okay, were you dancing on it? Did they have food there that you saw? Okay. Did it look like more like a bar restaurant or a nightclub? Is it like a place where you can go sit down and have a beer and a bite to eat, or is it like a dance club where you meet girls?
I like a place to sit down.
All right. So when you were in you're in the military, right? In the Navy? Marine Corps. All right. When you're in the Marine Corps, do they do safety stand-downs? Okay. Did they give you any training about why you shouldn't drink and drive? Did you say yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did they say about that?
Your vision was there.
Okay.
What you're doing.
Did you remember your vision being impaired? Yeah. So when you were in high school, did they ever do any of those like every 15 minutes type of presentations where it's like a pretend drunk driving crash? Do you know anybody who's been hurt by a drunk driver? All right, looks like he's falling asleep. We're gonna let it go here. It's all good, sir.
You said the truck's going to start.
Okay.
Clinkscales, in listening to that recording, it's fair to say that it's important for you to find out where the defendant was consuming alcohol that night.
Yes.
Why was that so important?
Well, I needed to find out where he had been drinking to see if he had been overserved by somebody. I needed to find out where he was drinking to find additional witnesses as to his sobriety and as to whether or not anybody had tried to stop him from driving, as he was saying.
And during the course of your interview, that first interview that we talked about, it was clear that the defendant was in pain, is that right?
Right?
When you were working in a patrol capacity before you became an officer with the Special Investigations Unit, did you ever do any DUI arrests?
I did.
How many?
300 to 400.
And based upon your knowledge of having done DUI arrests before, was there anything or any signs or symptoms that the defendant was giving you from the gurney that would tend to make you believe that he might have been impaired by alcohol?
Well, what I noticed was the odor of an alcoholic beverage that was coming from his breath. He was slurring his speech. His eyes were red and watery. His speech was at times kind of incoherent and then making sense.
Anytime during that interview, you mentioned that there were times when you would stop and step away, is that right?
Right.
Was there any time that, in the course of your interviewing, that you interfered with the medical treatment of the defendant?
No.
After you finished that interview was about almost an hour long, is that fair to say?
I believe so.
What was the next thing that you did in your investigation?
After speaking with Mr. King, I spoke with Officer Cavateo. I believe that he was talking to another victim that was in the ER on the other side of the trauma area. I touched base with my partner. Ultimately, I ended up going over to the Miramar Marine Corps Air Base and speaking with his unit commanders and giving out some of those names that he had provided, Dylan Wolfrey and Alan Slang, trying to find contact numbers for those people, because those were witnesses.
During the recording, there was a time when you were kind of saying, is this it? What were you doing?
I had my work phone out, and I was literally, because he wasn't able to give me the name of the bar, I was just showing him pictures of the various bars that I was saying to see if he would recognize the bar.
Early on in the audio recording, it said that you made mention to filming this. Were you talking at that point in time regarding recording it, or did you film both the first and what we will call later the second interview a day and a half later?
I don't remember obtaining film from the first one. I remember wanting to, but not having a good spot where I could put the camera because of the trauma room. But I remember doing an audio recording of the first one, and I remember doing a video recording of the second one.
You mentioned that the next step in your investigation was to go to the Marine Corps base, is that right?
Right.
What time do you think you got there?
I'm not sure. I believe it. I'd have to take a look at my report to help remember that.
Did you go home in between in your investigation at all?
I may have, yeah.
If you'd like to take a look at your report and look back to you when your memory's been refreshed.
Sure. Okay.
Remember what time that you got to MCAS Miramar?
I believe it was around 5 or 6 in the morning.
When you got to MCAS Miramar, what did you do?
I made contact with Mr. King's unit, and I obtained phone numbers for, I believe it was Wolfrey.
How did you know which unit to contact?
I don't recall.
When you got to MCAS Miramar, how many people did you contact that morning?
I spoke with, I know that I spoke briefly with one person and then a little bit longer with another person that was a commander.
Who did you speak to that morning?
I have to take a look at the report. Remember.
Let's take a look at your report and look back to me when you remember.
Okay.
Officer, has your memory been refreshed?
Yeah,
Who did you speak to that morning?
I can't remember his name.
You mentioned at some point in time that you interviewed or you spoke with Dylan Wolfrey. When did that happen?
That happened after I left Miramar. I believe it's about 7:20 in the morning.
And was that a conversation that took place over the phone?
Briefly over the phone to establish his location so that I could speak with him in person.
And did you ultimately end up meeting up with Mr. Wolfrey?
Yes.
What time did you meet up with Mr. Wolfrey?
That was at about 7:20.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was still the morning of the 16th of May of 2015?
Yes.
And where did you meet up with Mr. Wolfrey?
I was at 610 Diamond Street. It was a little motel there that was in Ocean Beach next to the water.
When you spoke with Mr. Wolford, did you also record any statement he gave you on a some sort of recording device?
I did.
When you spoke with Mr. Wolford, did he tell you what he saw the defendant drink that evening?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
John offered for the truth of the matter.
Objection, relevancy.
Could I see counsel briefly at sidebar? Let's go ahead and just take our morning break, folks. We're in recess until 10:40.
May 2015. Did he tell you what the defendant had to drink the night before?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
I remembered two different things. I remembered initially it was 2 beers, but I believe later on it was either maybe changed to a statement to say it was 2 mixed drinks.
Did he tell you what kind of mixed drinks?
I believe it was some sort of vodka drink.
Now, did Mr. Wolfrey also tell you whether or not he made any offers to the defendant the night before?
He did.
What did he tell you?
When he learned that the defendant was going to be leaving to go in a different location, basically to be driving, he told the defendant, why don't you just stay here? You can sleep here, and in fact, there's another person in our group that's going to be sleeping here.
What about his truck?
He offered to go and bring King's truck to him so that he didn't have to worry about what was going to happen with the truck.
Now, after you interviewed Mr. Wolfrey, was there another person that you interviewed that morning on base at MTAS?
It was later, well, eventually I spoke with a Hannah Talbot that was on base, but after Wolfrey, I believe it was somebody by the name of Schiewitz, S-C-H-I-E-W-I-T-Z.
When you say you spoke with Hannah Talbot,
I did.
how did you get information about Hannah Talbot?
Wolfrey had told me that if King wasn't with one person, that he may have been with Hannah Talbot, and then I believe it was Schiewitz that I spoke with that gave me Hannah Talbot's actual phone number.
Who is Hannah Talbot?
She is, according to what she told me, she's her and her husband are King's best friends.
When you spoke with Ms. Talbot, did she give you information that you were then able to follow up on to try to locate where the defendant had been drinking?
She did.
With that information, did you follow up in where the defendant was drinking?
I did.
Where did you go?
I went to In Cahoots bar on, it's kind of in the Mission Valley area.
When you went to In Cahoots, do you remember when you went there?
It was on the 8th, or I'm sorry, the 18th.
And who did you contact when you went to In Cahoots?
Manager Gary Martin.
When you were speaking with Mr. Martin, was he able to give you some information or some items that you impounded for evidence?
He was.
Did you speak with Mr. Martin before you went to In Cahoots on the telephone, or did you speak with him the first time when you went to In Cahoots?
I believe it was when I actually went there.
What did you do when you got to In Cahoots?
When I got to In Cahoots, I photographed the parking lot because I knew that may come up later as far as where the vehicles were parked. I spoke with Gary Martin. I asked him about that AMF drink that Mr. King had told me about, and I got information related to exactly what's in that and what glass it's put in. I received a little plastic cup from him that he said that is one of the drinks or drink containers that they use to do shots. A little glass, shot glass that they use for shots as well, and then also he provided me with a plastic cup that was what he said that they put the AMF drinks in.
Officer Clinkscales, I'm showing you what is marked as exhibit number 75. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is that?
These are those picture that I took of the 3 drink containers that I just mentioned.
Those are the drink containers that you actually impounded from In Cahoots?
Yes.
Officer Clinkscales, I'm showing you a plastic, looks like a wrapped container. Does that shrink-wrapped container, does that contain anything that's similar to what's marked in exhibit number 75?
Yes, it contains what is in April 75. It's a picture of those containers.
And what's in this shrink-wrapped container, is it fair to say that what's in 75 accurately depicts the items that are in this shrink-wrapped container?
It does.
Are you separately marking those?
Yes, please, Your Honor. I would like to mark those next in order. Exhibit number 93, I believe.
93, thank you.
Why did you actually impound the glassware?
Because I wanted to have an idea of the size of the containers of the drinks that I had learned that Mr. King had been drinking out of, so I could get an idea as to how much they could hold.
And how did you learn exactly what drinks that the defendant had that his evening at In Cahoots?
I had a second interview with the defendant at his hospital bed. I believe it was on the 18th, and I was able to get statements from him where he was more detailed about the drinks that he had been drinking. I also spoke with Hannah Talbot, who mentioned some of the drinks that they were having as well.
During the course of your investigation at In Cahoots, were you also able to see any receipts from drink orders?
I was.
And did you actually obtain those receipts from Mr. Martin?
I did.
You mentioned that you learned some information. In the very first interview, you learned about a drink called an AMF, is that right?
Right.
And when you spoke with Mr. Martin, he was able to give you the ingredients for that drink, is that right?
Right.
Okay. And of the 3 glasses that we see in either the photograph marked as 75 or what is marked as Exhibit 93, which of the 3 glasses is that AMF drink served in?
It's the largest of the 3 containers.
The one with kind of a bluish purple tinge, is that fair to say?
Yes, the plastic cup right here.
Okay. And the plastic cup marked in Exhibit number 75 on the far
Correct.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you spoke with Mr. Martin, and that was the glassware that he provided you for that drink, the AMF, is that right?
Right.
Did he explain what the small plastic containers used for?
Yeah, that little, like, disposable plastic container, he said that is one of the shot containers that they use to serve like a Jack Daniels, I think it was Jack Daniels Fire or something like that, like their cinnamon whiskey, at the downstairs bar that's near the entrance exit.
Why did you obtain one of those containers?
Because I had information, I believe it was from King, that he had a shot downstairs.
And then the receipts that you received from Mr. Martin, there's also receipts for highballs. Did you obtain any highball glasses from In Cahoots?
I don't believe so.
You mentioned that one of the reasons that you obtained the glassware was information that you got from your second interview with the defendant. Is that right?
Right.
There was also some information that you received from Ms. Talbot. Is that right?
Right.
When you interviewed Ms. Talbot, did you also record your interview with Ms. Talbot?
I did.
I'd like to talk to you about the second interview that you had with Mr. King. This is one that you videotaped, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, when you videotaped that recording, was there information that was duplicative from the first interview you had to the second interview?
There was some.
Was there additional details that you got in the second interview?
There were.
Now, some of the details from the second interview Is it fair to say that Mr. King was more lucid when you talked to him on the 18th?
Yes, he was.
Was he able to go into more detail about the condition or how he bought his truck?
Yes.
Was he able to give you details as to how much you paid for it or kind of the vehicle specifications?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He bought it from a private party on Craigslist. I believe it was for about $9,000. He said it was an F-350 that was lifted. He was able to tell me that it's got kind of like a dual gas tank system in it. He said that he had bought it just within the last week prior to the crash.
When you were speaking with the defendant, Mr. King, were you also able to get a better kind of layout of what his day had been like on the 15th of May?
Yes.
He was able to give you more detail?
Yes, he was.
Was he able to tell you what time his day started on the 15th of May?
He was.
What did he tell you?
I want to say it was late morning, but I'd have to take a look at the report to remember exactly what time he woke up.
If you'd like to look at your report, I refer you to page 53.
Okay?
Officer, has your memory been refreshed?
It has.
Did he tell you what time his day began on the 15th?
Around noon, 1,200 to 1,300 hours.
Did he tell you what he did after he got up?
Yes, he went to a McDonald's and had lunch.
Did he tell you who he had lunch with?
Yes, Alan Slam.
Where did they go to lunch?
McDonald's on the base.
Now, did he tell you then what he did after he had lunch with Mr. Slam?
He did.
What did he do?
He put fuel in his truck and then he drove to Mission Beach.
Was he able to tell you what he did when he went to Mission Beach?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He met up with the friends that he ended up hanging out with at the, I believe it was the Pacific Terrace Hotel there in Mission Beach, the same location where I met with Wolfrey, Dylan Wolfrey.
Did he tell you whether or not he had anything to drink when he was hanging out with Wolfrey and his friends?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
I remember him saying something about drinking 2 beers.
Did he ever admit to having more than 2 beers?
He may have. I'd have to take a look at the report for that.
I'd like to take a look at your report and look back to me when your memory's been refreshed.
It has.
Officer, has your memory been refreshed?
Yes.
Did he tell you at any point in time that he had more than 2 beers?
Oh, I'm sorry, earlier I had misunderstood your question. I thought you meant while they were at the hotel. That's what he said that he had had was 2 beers, but later in the evening he admitted to drinking additional drinks.
Now, did you ask him about whether or not he knew what time he actually left the hotel?
He did.
What did he tell you?
I remember he said he got there around 1,600 hours, and then he left the hotel maybe around 9 or 10 p.m.
And did he tell you in the second interview why he left the hotel?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He said he went to meet up with Hannah Talbot.
And when you asked him about meeting up with Hannah Talbot, was he able to give you a kind of a layout of where he'd gone to once he left Mission Beach?
Yes.
What did he say?
He ultimately went to In Cahoot's bar, is where he said he ended up with Hannah Talbot.
Did he remember going anywhere before he got to In Cahoot's?
Yes, I know that Hannah did as well, but I think he said that they met in the parking lot of a bar called the Carriage House, but decided not to actually go into that bar.
Now, when The defendant told you about going to In Cahoots. What kind of detail can you go into in the second interview about arriving at In Cahoots or getting into the In Cahoots?
He remembered parking his truck in the parking lot. He remembered Hannah had her BMW parked near his truck. He tried to get into the south entrance that's there, which is kind of a back entrance where he tried to walk into first, but was turned away. Then he and Hannah ended up going inside the main entrance, and I believe he was turned away initially because he had a pocket knife, and then went and put that back in his truck, and then came back inside the bar and was allowed in.
Was he even able to remember whether or not he had to pay cover and the amount?
Yes, I believe he said he paid a $5 cover.
You mentioned that when you went to In Cahoots, you spoke with manager Mr. Martin, is that right?
Right.
And did Mr. Martin tell you whether or not In Cahoots Bar had surveillance?
He told me that they did.
And were you actually able to get a copy of that surveillance from Mr. Martin?
Yes,
Did you later actually review that surveillance
I did.
and impound it?
I did.
And the surveillance, was there anywhere on the surveillance that actually showed the time when the defendant and Ms. Talbot arrived at In Cahoots?
There was.
At this time, there's a flash drive that I would like to have marked as next in order. I'm not sure how we will mark it. I believe the next in order would be 94. So,
Okay, we'll mark it as 94.
Officer Clinkscales, when you reviewed the surveillance video, were you actually able to see on the video when Ms. Talbot's vehicle and the defendant's truck arrives into the In Cahoots bar?
Yes.
Officer Clinkscales, on the screen we're showing it looks like two people that are on the right-hand side, but we're also looking at a patio with vehicles in the parking lot. And I believe there is a timestamp on there at the very, very bottom. Can you read that?
Yes.
What is that timestamp?
It says 2300 hours, 22 minutes and 34 seconds.
And do you recognize this surveillance video?
I do.
What do you recognize it as?
This is surveillance video that I recovered from In Cahoots Bar.
Thank you. Officer Clinkscales, we just saw in the surveillance video, there was a car that went over, goes from the left of the screen to the right of the screen, appears to be a silver colored vehicle, and then there's a vehicle behind it. Were you able to identify either of those vehicles?
Yes.
What were those vehicles?
The first vehicle that went through the screen, the silver BMW, was going to be Hannah Talbot, her vehicle. And the vehicle that's paused on the screen right now, that white truck on the top left part, is going to be Jason King's F-350.
And when you looked at the surveillance video, did it match up what statement that the defendant gave you about arriving at the bar in cahoots.
Yes.
Now, were you able then to look at the surveillance video to determine whether or not the defendant's, how he got into the bar matched up what he was staying to as well?
Yes, I was.
On the screen, we have another angle. Do you recognize this angle?
I do.
What is this angle?
This is the main entrance to In Cahoots.
Is there a timestamp on this?
There is.
What is the timestamp?
It's 23:30 and 33 seconds.
And when we're seeing this, this snapshot, or the screenshot, there's also, it looks like a person, there's people that appear to the left of the screen, is that right?
Right.
And then there's also someone that appears to be at a desk or a counter of some sort in the background, is that right?
Right.
What is that?
That desk there is where they take the cover, charge the $5 cover for the night.
Officer Clinkscales, what is the timestamp right now on the surveillance video?
23:30 and 53 seconds.
Is there anyone that you recognize on that screen?
On the screen right now is Hannah Talbot. She is to the left of the man in the cowboy hat, facing kind of down and to her right, with the blue shirt and the light-colored shoes.
And just as we were leading up to this, is there another person on the screen that we can only see in the lower half of?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you recognize that person?
Yes, that's going to be Jason King.
Officer Clinkscales, did what we just watched on the surveillance video, the defendant arriving to the bar, leaving for a short while and coming back, did that match what he told you?
Yes.
When you were continuing your interview with the defendant, Mr. King, on the second interview we're talking about here, on the 18th, did he then tell you what they did once they got into the house?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
I believe they went and ordered the first round of drinks, the AMF drinks that they were talking about.
Did he tell you whether or not he had any sort of shots or anything like that when he walked into the bar?
I'd have to take a look at the report to remember that.
If you could take a look and look up to me when you remember the next.
Okay?
Officer Clinkscales, has your member been refreshed?
Yes.
Was defendant Mr. King able to tell you whether or not he had any drinks before he had the AMFs?
I believe that what he said was that they had the AMF downstairs and then went upstairs and had another one.
When they went upstairs, was the defendant, Mr. King, able to tell you what they did upstairs?
They waited for a pool table to open up and then they played pool.
And did he tell you if he had anything to drink while playing pool?
Yes, he had the second AMF that they ordered upstairs.
And did you ask him who was actually paying for the AMFs or how they were being paid for?
I did.
What did he tell you?
He told me that he and Hannah were alternating paying for the drinks.
Did he tell you what they did after they played pool?
Yes.
What did he say?
They went downstairs where the dance floor is and they danced.
Did he say whether or not he had any other drinks when he went downstairs?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
They had Jack and Coke.
And did he tell you who paid for those drinks?
I'd have to look at the report to remember.
If you could look up your report and look up to you and your memories would be refreshed.
Okay?
Did he tell you who paid for those Jack and Cokes?
Yes, the Jack and Cokes were paid for by King.
When you were talking to him in the second interview, how many drinks did he tell you he consumed in cahoots?
I remember 4 AMFs and the Jack and Coke in cahoots.
Now, when you were speaking with Mr. King, was he able to give you any other details about his night regarding how he left the bar or when he said goodbye to Hannah, anything like that?
I believe that his memory kind of got a little bit fuzzy towards the end, but I want to say that he mentioned something about having to go outside and be escorted out maybe.
Now, when you were talking to him on the 18th, did he appear to be sedated or had any difficulty understanding the questions that you were asking?
No.
Now, when you were talking with Mr. King, did you ask him about his normal practice regarding whether he knew about designated drivers or anything like that?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He stated that normally he'll have a designated driver when he goes out to drink.
Did you ask him about whether or not he'd attended a safety stand-down?
I did.
What did he tell you?
That he had recently attended a safety stand down on base at the Bob Hope Theater.
Did he tell you how far in the past it was?
I believe it was within about a week or two of the crash.
And did he tell you whether or not it was the name of it or what the subject matter was?
Just that it was I just remember it being a safety stand down at Bob Hope Theater.
And did you remember what day it was? What day of the week?
I think he thought it was Thursday.
Did he tell you how he got there?
I don't remember how he got there. I just remember that he got there a little bit later than maybe Hannah did.
Now, when you talked to him about the fact that he got there late, was he able to explain to you why he was late?
He was.
What did he tell you?
I don't remember. I just remember that he was late. He was able to remember. I could take a look at the report. It would help me remember that.
If you could, thank you. Take a look at your report.
Okay, it doesn't help me recall.
When you were speaking with the defendant, was he able to tell you the subject matter or what he learned at that safety stand-down?
He was.
What did he tell you?
He did say that there was a police officer that was in a blue uniform that gave a little bit of a talk to the group that explained to them the dangers of drinking and driving, that it impairs your vision. He said that the officer said that they were going to get them if they drove drunk.
course of your investigation, were you able to determine whether the officer who presented at that safety stand down actually wore a uniform that was dark blue?
Yes.
What did you learn?
I learned that it was a San Diego police officer that gave the talk. I don't recall what that officer's name was, but San Diego Police Department does wear a dark blue uniform.
When you were speaking with the defendant, was he also able to tell you whether or not there are any ramifications of driving back onto the base after having consumed alcohol?
He did?
What did he tell you?
I asked him if it is okay to drive onto the base after having been drinking, and he stated that it's not. That if he was intoxicated trying to drive back onto the base, that he would get caught coming onto the base.
Did he tell you whether or not he stayed over at Friends before to avoid that ramification?
Yes, he said that he's, instead of going onto the base, he's stayed over at Hannah's place before.
Now, when you were talking with the defendant the second time, was he able to give you any idea of the area where the bar was located? Is that something that he was familiar with or not?
He did not seem to be very familiar with the area that I was asking him about.
Now, were you also able to look at the surveillance video to actually see the time frame when the defendant actually got escorted out, well, not even escorted out, when the defendant was kicked out of a cahoot? Is that fair to say? Is that something you saw?
Right, and I do want to correct, when I was mentioning his statement earlier about leaving the bar, I may be remembering it wrong as far as he may not be the one who remembered being escorted out during that second interview. I might be mixing it up with the first interview that I had with him when he said that he may have gotten thrown out. I think that information actually came from Gary Martin.
Do you recall looking at that surveillance video, is that right?
Yes, I do.
Officer Clinkscales, we're seeing on the screen 4 different screenshots at the moment. And is there a timestamp along the bottom?
There is.
What is that timestamp?
The timestamp says 01:16 and 6 seconds, dated 5/16 of 2015.
I'm sorry, I missed the time.
That's 01:16
Thank you.
and 6 seconds.
And on this screenshot that we see, do you see the defendant in any of the 4 screenshots?
I see him in 2 of them. The top right screenshot, I see him at the main entrance that we previously saw him going in. And the bottom left video is that same main entrance from a view from the other side of the building. You can see him walking out there as well.
Clinkscales, on that video surveillance, did you see anyone talking to the defendant when he came out onto the patio?
I don't remember seeing him sitting and speaking with somebody.
And when you saw him coming out there, did it, from your view on the surveillance video, and in speaking with the defendant, it appeared that it was the same person?
Right.
When you had the opportunity to review the rest of the videotape, is there any time in the videotape where you saw the defendant come back onto the patio?
I don't remember him coming back onto the patio. I just remember seeing his truck leave.
And was there a time on the surveillance video, did you review all of the video?
Yes.
And if there was a portion on the video where the defendant actually came back onto the patio, do you think you'd be able to recognize the defendant?
Certainly.
Officer Clinkscales, what's the time stamp on the bottom of this screen?
It is 1:18 and 39 seconds.
Do you see the defendant anywhere in this screenshot?
I do.
Where is he?
He's on the right-hand side of the frame, sitting on a wall.
In that wall, is there anything that's planted in the, right behind that wall?
There's a cactus.
Officer Clinkscales, you mentioned that there was also a portion of time where you saw the truck in the parking lot. What exactly was that?
Well, you can see later in the video, King's truck kind of going out in the direction that we just previously saw it going in, headed towards Mission Center.
And is there anything remarkable in that sequence that you remember of looking at the truck on the surveillance video?
I just recall that the truck was driving out of the parking lot.
There was nothing unusual about how the truck was being driven at that point, do you recall?
I don't remember seeing anything.
Now, after you conducted your second interview with the defendant and you went to in cahoots, those were on the same day, is that right?
Yes.
And was your interview with Ms. Talbot, was it before or after that sequence of events?
It was the second interview with King, followed by the interview with Ms. Talbot, followed by the my visit to In Cahoots.
And when you were speaking with Ms. Talbot, did she also give you access to her phone or a voicemail message?
She did.
And were you able to hear a voicemail message in the voice that you recognized as the defendant?
I was.
What was that voicemail message?
It was from the defendant to Talbot. I'd have to take a look at the report for the exact words that he stated.
If you could.
Sure. Okay.
Were you able to recall the wording that he used on the voicemail message?
Yes.
What was that voicemail message?
What Mr. King stated was, I'm fucking leaving, followed by a little bit of a space, and then I got fucking kicked out, holy shit.
What time was that voicemail message?
I was at 1:22.
Now, in the course of your investigation, after figuring out that the defendant had been in cahoots in a time frame, did you try to go back and figure out or check with businesses anywhere in the area to obtain any surveillance video that would show portions of the 163?
I did.
Why did you do that?
I wanted to know where King got on the freeway the wrong way.
Were you able to figure that out?
Not definitively.
Were you able to look at any surveillance video from any businesses that are along the 163?
I checked with a few different businesses that were in the area.
And when you say in the area, where are you talking about?
Along the east side of the 163 between Friars Road and I believe it was Genesee Avenue East.
Officer Clinkscales, on the screen we have a screen, exhibit number 4, which is an overhead screenshot of a Google map, and you're talking about the 163, is that right? And Genesee, which runs to the left-hand side down through the 163?
Correct.
Okay. On this Google map, it has a word Judson Street condos, and then we get, if we keep going farther south on the 163, we hit the words Fashion Walks condos, then Fashion Valley, and then we come to the 8 intersection. Am I reading those 3 correctly?
Yes, you are.
When you say that you were trying to find businesses in the area that may or may not have had surveillance, did you look in the area of the Genesee condos?
I did.
Now, if you could point to us, point for us, there should be a pointer there to your left-hand side. Where is the In Cahoots bar from, on this map?
So the mission, let's see here. So the off-ramp to get to it is Friars Road, which is right here, next to where it says Fashion Walk Condos. And so that would be, you go east on Friars Road, and this first road here is Mission Center Drive. So In Cahoots is right where I've got my pointer now.
Let the record reflect that the witness in exhibit number 4, he first was pointing to a roadway, the first roadway after the intersection 8 in purple that is white that goes off to the right-hand side as being Friars Road. He then followed the pointer along to the actual F in Friars Road on the map, and there was a roadway that went south from there that at the top of that roadway was Friars Road, and at the bottom of that roadway it says Westfield Mission Valley. Was that the street that you were referring to?
Yes.
And after checking with businesses in that area, how many businesses do you think you contacted?
Approximately 3 to 4 businesses that were in that area.
Is there a lot of businesses along between the I-8 at 163, along the 163 past Genesee, that actually face the 163?
There's not very many.
And were you able to obtain any video from any of those companies showing the 163 on the early morning hours of the 16th of May?
I was.
Did any of them show what you were looking for?
They showed over at the NASCO property that is along the 160, it's east of the 163, north of Friars, and south of Genesee. There's like a General Dynamics NASCO building, and I was able to get a little bit of video from there that showed a high profile or a large vehicle with flashers on that was traveling wrong way, but it didn't show me where the vehicle got on. It just showed me that that vehicle was wrong way north of Friars Road.
How far north did you look in trying to obtain or figure out where the defendant got onto the freeway?
I went up to, I believe it was Mesa College Drive. I wasn't able to find anything near Mesa College Drive, and then I backtracked to the ramp that's in between Mesa College Drive and Friars Road, which is Genesee Avenue East. So I don't remember going much north of Mesa College.
And could you determine where the defendant got on the freeway?
Not definitively.
You mentioned that when you were at the scene, you had your partner, Officer Rick Brady, take photographs of the vehicles. Is that right?
Right.
At some point in time, did you actually visit the impound lot where the vehicles were stored?
I did.
When do you think that occurred in the course of days?
I estimate it would have been within about 2 to 3 days of the crash.
And when you went to the tow yard, were you able to take a look at the vehicles and the condition they were at the tow yard?
I was.
If I was to show you some photographs of the damaged Prius, do you think you'd be able to identify them?
Yes.
Or does the court have any objection with me showing the photographs at the same time as laying the foundation? The defense has no objection for these photographs.
No problem.
Thank you, Your Honor. Starting first with photograph number 47. Clinkscales, is what's on the screen, does that match what's in front of you marked as exhibit number 47?
It does.
What are we looking at in exhibit number 47?
This is a picture of the Prius that was involved in the crash, the Prius C.
And is that the photograph that was taken actually at the tow yard?
Yes, this is in the evidence, the secured evidence portion of Star Towing's lot at 8060 Armour Street.
And is this photograph, does it accurately depict what the vehicle looked like once it reached the tow yard?
It does.
What are we looking at in exhibit number 48?
That is the same vehicle from the other side in the same parking lot.
From the profile that we're looking at on this one, would it be fair to say it's from the passenger side?
Yes, we're looking at the passenger side and the front of the vehicle.
And does that match what's in front of you marked as exhibit number 48?
It does.
What are we looking at in exhibit number 49?
That is the rear of the Prius C.
And at the rear of the Prius C, we see that there's something around the very, kind of the back left end, or the back driver's side. What is that?
Are you referring to the thing hanging off the back of the car?
Yes.
That is the left side rear lighting assembly.
Is it fair to say that in this photograph, marked as exhibit number 49, at the tow yard, some of the items from the vehicle were moved or changed from how they looked at the scene? Is that fair?
Yes, that is.
Why is that?
They were put on a tow truck and moved to a different location.
And in the process of moving the vehicles, is it fair to say that with CHP or the tow company had to actually change some of the configuration of the vehicles to get them on the tow truck?
Yes, they would have had to drag them onto the tow truck, and then in addition to that, the tow trucks aren't like a secured airtight box. They are sitting on top of that tow truck as they're being transported, subjected to air.
What are we looking at in exhibit number 50?
Okay, this is the same Prius C that we were just looking at, and this is looking down into the driver's seat of the Prius. So that's the steering wheel that's kind of in the middle lower portion of the photograph.
If you could, with the pointer.
Yes.
We're looking here, and on exhibit number 50, let's start with from the right-hand side. What are we looking at in that right-hand side of the photograph?
We're talking about here.
There's a white portion that goes up about halfway, it starts about a third of the way up the photograph, that goes all the way to about 2/3 of the way up. There's kind of like a white material or a lighter color on the photograph, and then it kind of bends and shifts and goes to the very top. What is that?
This appears to be like the headliner that would sit above the passenger compartment of the Prius.
Okay. And could you point, please, where the steering wheel is in this photograph?
It is right here.
Would it be fair to say you're pointing right to almost the very middle of the photograph? Is that fair?
Yes.
And could you please point to where the dashboard is in this photograph?
Well, it's broken here, and then it continues up here.
So the first place that you were pointing was kind of just an area to the bottom left-hand corner of the photograph. There's some wires and it looks like parts or mechanical parts or plastic. And then you pointed to the plastic area that runs diagonal, kind of slightly left to right, kind of going from top to bottom in the photograph. Is that where you're pointing?
Yes.
What are we looking at in exhibit number 51?
Exhibit 51 appears to be like loose parts of the Prius that were loosely put back together in kind of an area in that same evidence, or in the tow yard parking lot.
And what are we looking at in exhibit number 52?
52 is going to be similar to a view that we already looked at. You can see in the middle lower portion, you're looking at the top of the Prius from the outside the driver's side looking in. So that's the roof of the Prius peeled back, and then underneath it is the headliner that would normally go above the driver.
And you mentioned that when you were on scene, you also had the opportunity to do a walk around and take a look at the vehicle, and you had Officer McBreedy actually take photographs. Is that right?
Right.
Sure. And then maybe go sidebar for a brief moment.
Sure.